Okay, so how much money do you actually need to study in New Zealand? Because when I was coming to New Zealand, the biggest number in front of me was my tuition fee. But let me tell you one thing, tuition fee is not the only thing you're going to spend your money on. You've got your visa, insurance, flights, rent, groceries, and so much more. Then you'll also have your random expenses that you didn't really think about. Till today, I've never really sat down and calculated my total expenses. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna break down all the costs and all the money I spent before coming to New Zealand, how I managed my money as an international student, how much my part-time job helped me, and finally a few mistakes that could be avoided. So stay with me till the end because we're gonna calculate the number together. I'm a little bit scared to find out the result, but just keep in mind this is my experience and my expenses, which could differ person to person because I'm a very like low maintenance person. Your costs could also vary depending on your course, your university, and your lifestyle. So let's talk about the biggest expense, which is tuition. I'm doing my master's in animal science at Massey University, which was a 1.5 year course. I had to pay $75,000. Yes, literally $75,000. Before coming to New Zealand, we had to pay 1 year tuition fee upfront before coming. The rest of the money was due after a year. And obviously, the tuition fee is gonna vary a lot because the courses are different, the universities are different. So don't take my $75,000 as the exact expense for you. Go on the university's website, whatever university you're interested in, and whatever course you're interested in, go check it out. Now let's come to the part how my family paid it. Because $75,000 is a big, big, big amount. They of course didn't want to break their savings, which is a very wise decision according to me. So they decided to take out a small education loan and used rest of the savings, FDs or whatever accounts you guys have. And this actually helped us keep the savings for emergencies or any sort of expenses that come later, also for repaying the loan gradually. Obviously, I'm not saying that everybody should take a education loan. I'm just saying if you think you're good enough to pay it all by yourself, good enough. If not, then education would be the best option. You should start thinking about how you're going to finance your studies right now or like a bit early rather than getting your admission and suddenly thinking that, oh my God, where am I going to get the money from? One mistake I see students make is waiting till the last minute to figure out their finances. The education loan process can take time, and when university or visa deadlines are approaching, it can become really stressful. That's where today's sponsor, Gyanthan, can be helpful. Gyanthan is an education financing platform that helps students explore and compare education loan options from multiple banks and NBFCs, so you don't have to visit different lenders individually or guess which option might be suitable for your profile. One feature I found particularly useful is the education loan eligibility checker. By entering details like your university, course, destination country, funding requirement, and a few profile details, you can get an idea of the loan options you may be eligible for and which lenders could be a good fit. Depending on your eligibility, they can also help you with both secured and unsecured loans, guide you through the documentation process, help compare lenders, and support you throughout the loan application journey. Since 2016, they have supported more than 35,000 students and facilitated over 11,000 crore rupees in education loans, helping students pursue their study abroad. If you're planning to study abroad, my advice is to start planning your finances early rather than waiting until admission or visa deadline. Even if you're still exploring your options, understanding loan eligibility in advance can make planning much easier. I'll leave Gyanthan's education loan eligibility checker link in the description and the pinned comment below. So if you're planning to study abroad, you can go check it out right now and explore your options and see what options you're eligible for right now. Now, coming back to the actual cost of studying here, another big thing you have to think about is proof of funds. When I applied, I had to show around $20,000 per year because they calculate according to like 1667, that is like $1,667 per month, which adds up to $20,000 a year. And since I have to stay here for like 1.5 years, I had to show $30,000. Let me tell you one thing, proof of funds is not the same thing as saying I spent $30,000. It's basically just showing that you have enough money available to support yourself, and immigration requirements can change in time to time. So please go and check the current immigration New Zealand requirements when you're applying rather than using the old application as your checklist. Next was my student visa. visa. My student visa costed me approximately $850. Again, visa fee can change, so check the current fee before you apply. I have paid $850 three times already to renew my student visa, which adds up to, sorry, my calculation is a bit weak. 850 into 3 is $2,550 I've already spent on student visa. And then there are all the small expenses that nobody really puts together. For my PT, I paid around 18,000 rupees, which is roughly at that time was 350 to $400. And then I had a medical examination, which roughly costed me $100. I didn't pay anything to my immigration advisor. I didn't have any additional university application fee. So these individual things don't look huge, but once you start putting all these together, suddenly you've spent quite a lot of money before you even enter New Zealand. Then you've got your health insurance. Mine was around $900 a year. I had to cover for 2 years, so altogether I paid $1,800. This is another expense that you need to include in your budget because as an international student, it's not something I just completely forget about while calculating the cost of studying here because it almost rounds up to a lakh. This one still hurts me a lot. I paid approximately $2,500 for my flight from India to New Zealand. Don't think every flight costs $2,500. Mine was expensive because my visa literally was delayed and it came 13 days before my course started. I booked my flight 13 days before. That's why it was very expensive. But if you book your flights early, when I went to India in March, I booked my flights in November last year so that I won't have to pay extra. And they costed me around $1,900, which is the round trip. And let me tell you one thing, the $2,500 was just one side. I booked $1,900 ticket for both sides. That's how much money you can save. And now just make sure to get your visa as early as possible. Start applying for visa. And when you know that you are going to fly on this day, book your flights early. Now, this is something I think people get confused about. There's a difference between your total study budget and the actual money you have accessible when you land. When I came to New Zealand, I personally had around like $3,000 or $4,000. I had half of them in my Forex card and half of them as cash. And honestly, they lasted me a few months. My parents would occasionally send me some money in the beginning, but once I got my part-time job, I actually told them that they don't have to send me money anymore because I was earning enough to cover my normal day-to-day expenses. Now let's talk about one of the biggest monthly expense, which is rent. I got a good room. This room is just $190, furnished, including all the bills. So I was studying at Massey University, as I told you, and the campus was Palmerston North. Palmerston North is obviously much smaller than somewhere like Auckland, and I managed to find a quite affordable accommodation that too near my campus. So roughly I had to spend $780 per month on my rent, and the initial bond was around $150. But please don't use my $190 room as your expectation for the whole New Zealand. If you're planning to live somewhere like Auckland or Wellington, I would personally be preparing for something like $250 to $300 a week for a decent room, potentially more depending on the location, property, and what's included in it. And one thing I would recommend, if possible, view your accommodation before committing to it. Check the location, check what's included, check whether it's furnished or not, check how you're gonna get to the university or work, because saving $20 on rent is not really saving money if you're spending loads on transport or living somewhere you hate. Many a times what you see on in pictures and what you see in reality is completely different. Now the first week when I came here, I was very lucky with it because my room was fully furnished and I did not have to buy a bed, desk, chair or anything else from scratch. And I basically needed some toiletries, some kitchen stuff, that's it. Altogether I roughly spent like $100, and that's one reason I would recommend looking at furnished accommodation when you're first moving here as an international student, because we already have enough expenses. You don't necessarily want to land and immediately start buying furniture. Now, coming to the food is interesting because I actually expected groceries to be much expensive before I came here. But I've realized that if you know how to cook, you can manage your food budget quite well. My grocery bill is not a normal example because I work in hospitality and catering and I sometimes get food through work. So I personally spend around only like $150 a month on my grocery. And again, don't come to New Zealand expecting your groceries to be just $150 because I said so. Mine is low because of my work situation and I know how to cook. But if you want to order takeaways, they can easily cost you $30 for a pizza. And imagine doing that 3 to 4 times every week. Your money is just gone. Genuinely, one of the best thing you can do before moving abroad is learning how to cook. You don't have to become a chef. Learn 5 or 6 basic meals that you actually like and you're going to be fine with it. Personally, I try not to order takeaways too often. If you're trying to save money, something like once every couple of weeks is much more manageable than constantly ordering food. Transport basically costed me $0 because I walk a lot in Palmerston North because it's not huge. It's just a small town. And as a massive student, I've been able to use the local bus service with my B card without paying fares. So you can travel Pami without actually paying anything. And that's very specific to my situation. If you're studying somewhere else, you might need a car or your transport budget might look completely different. Now, for my phone, when I first came here, I did not really know which company or plan I should go with. Luckily, one of my friends had already been here for quite a while and recommended Skinny. I ended up getting a plan for $17 a month. Mine doesn't have loads of data. I just get around 1.5 GB, but honestly, I don't need a lot of data. I have Wi Fi where I live, there's Wi Fi at university where I work, and I'm usually somewhere with internet anyway. There are obviously much bigger plans if you need more data, but personally, I did not see the point in paying $40 or more for something I'm not even going to use. Now, obviously, you're not going to move to another country and spend absolutely nothing on yourself. I don't shop a lot, but I do go out sometimes, buy clothes, get takeaways, or just buy random stuff, and I would spend approximately $150 to $200 per month on myself. And I think having a little personal budget is actually important. You don't have to sit inside your room for 1.5 years just because you're scared to spend $10. Just give yourself a limit that, okay, this is how much we're going to spend this month. This is like the biggest question every international student has. I get like 3 or 4 DMs every day. People asking me, can a part time job help with all my expenses? For me, yes, absolutely. I worked for a catering company at my university, which was very convenient for me. I loved working there. During my normal study periods, I worked around 25 hours a week and I would earn roughly around like $500 during eligible university breaks, where I could work more than my hours. Under my visa conditions, I sometimes worked around 40 hours and earned more. And once I started earning regularly, my income was enough for my normal day to day expenses. A part time job helped me with living expenses. It did not magically pay my $75,000 tuition fee. I think that's a very important discussion because I get a lot of DMs with people asking me that can we pay off the loan just by working part time? No, you cannot. You need to have a proper plan for your tuition before you come. And please check the work conditions printed on your student visa because everyone's situation and immigration rules can be different. If I was coming to New Zealand again financially, I actually wouldn't change loads because I'm generally quite good with budgeting. But there are definitely a few things I have learned. Number one, book your flights early if you possibly can. Number two, choose your accommodation carefully. Look at what's included, location, transport, and whether it's furnished. Don't just take the cheapest room. Number three, learn how to cook. Your bank account is gonna thank you. Okay, so this is the part. Let's actually calculate it. And remember, I'm not adding my proof of funds amount in here because that's the money I had to demonstrate and not actually spend. So, tuition 75,000, student visa $850, flight $2,500, health insurance $1,800, PTE $375, medical $100, initial setup $100, roughly rent for 18 months is $15,000, groceries at 150 per month, which would total $2,700 till now, phone at roughly $17 for 4 weeks is around $330 for 18 months, and my personal extra expenditure, which I'm rounding off, is $3,000. Transport was basically zero for me. Adding all of these rounds up to 1,02,000 for my entire 1.5 year journey. Okay, I've literally never calculated that before. That's a lot of money. So, if you're planning to study in New Zealand, my biggest advice is don't just look at the tuition fee, work out your tuition, visa, insurance, flights, accommodation, food, phone, transport, and all the initial setups, and leave a little bit of money for emergencies. Personally, having $3,000 to $4,000 accessible when you first arrive gives you enough room to settle down while you're figuring everything out. And once you get the part-time job, you're able to become much more independent with everyday expenses. If there's anything that I haven't covered in the costs, leave your questions in the comments and I can always make a part two. And if you want me to make another video specifically about how much you can realistically earn from a part-time job as an international student in New Zealand, let me know. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in next video.